Hong Kong Direct is your weekly racing roundup with news, views, interviews and special guests ahead of what is a big weekend here in Hong Kong with two Group 1s. Coming up on the show today, we get the rematch again. The Group 1 giants, Beauty Generation and Beat the Clock have run 1-2 in the Queen Silver Jubilee Cup in the last 2 years. And Exultant back to defend his Hong Kong Gold Cup crown as well. And Ricky Yiu, part 2 of our interview with Ricky as he hones in on the trainer's title this year. Very warm welcome to the show. I'm Jeune. Please say I'm joined in the studio by Hong Kong Direct regular Graham Cunningham. Graham, ahead of a massive weekend at Sha Tin.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have the spotlight firmly back on the stars of Hong Kong racing. Challenging times for everyone at the moment, but racing is continuing. I think that's reasonable. And to have Exultant, Beat the Clock and Beauty Generation et al. All on deck on Sunday is going to be terrific.
Yeah, with 122 people through the gates, I think was the official number at Happy Valley on Wednesday night. It's going to be a reduced crowd again on Sunday, but racing still goes ahead and we've got some of our biggest stars.
Thankfully, racing is a different beast than other major sporting events. This month, Longines Master Show Jumping, gone. Hong Kong Marathon, gone. Hong Kong Sevens delayed till October. Reasonable. They bring together many thousands of people in close proximity. But if the last few weeks have shown us anything, it's that racing can continue and thrive to a large degree without the major crowds that we normally expect.
It will, and it goes ahead certainly on Sunday for these two Group 1s. Hot off the press as well, Graham, news through today of the licensing committee. They met this week and the comings and goings. New jockeys, well, we're actually familiar with these two, Wagner Borges and Aldo Mayer, back towards the end of the season. And Gary Lowe, who's ridden 65 winners in his stint in Australia, he'd be a £10 claimant that will start at the end of March as well.
Absolutely. The merry-go-round stops. A couple of people keep the seats, a couple of people forfeit the seats, and a handful of people get their seats or get them back in the case of Wagner and Aldo. Aldo made quite an impression in his relatively short stay first time around. Wagner Borges missed out on a couple of very tight finishes, but I know that the Jockey Club really like him. He's ridden squillions of winners in Brazil, and I think he'll come back with that same big smile, and I suspect better English this time around.
Alexis Bedell, Tony Pacone finished their short stints. Lyle Hewitson leaves as well at the end of February. But Lyle have made plenty of friends while he's here, and Neil Callan, Blake Jeune also stay on towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. As for the departees, all young enough and good enough to come back again. Bedell's had a tremendous winter stint. Picone made a very, very strong impression in a short space of time. And as for Lyle Hewitson, yes, he's only had a handful of winners, but the composure he's shown in the last couple of months for a young fella who was doing it tough will stand him in good stead wherever he goes next.
Absolutely. And Victor Wong, back from injury, so it'd be great to have Victor back in the next couple of weeks.
He's been riding in barrier trials and he was riding plenty of winners before injury intervened. So, as I said, the merry-go-round stops, but it soon revs up again.
It certainly does. All right, the first of our big races on Sunday is the Gold Cup is where we'll start. We'll come back to the Queen Silver Jubilee Cup. This is race number 5. Exultant back to defend his crown. Zach Burton, the saddle. Southern Legend runner-up to Exultant last year at massive odds in the 60-1 Furo, the Derby winner. He hasn't won a race even since the Derby itself last season. Ho Ho Calm, Dark Dream need to improve on their last start efforts for sure. Time Warp, who missed his last intended start, he's our likely leader. Joe Moreira jumps on board there. Eagle Wave's actually a really good run last time out. Blake Jeune will ride him. He was behind Exultant but staying on strongly. Northern Superstar and Glorious Dragon as well, who also coming out of the Stewards Cup last time, which is probably the obvious place to start, Graham, with Exultant winning this race under handicap conditions. So the likes of Glorious Dragon, who was second to him, is £19 worse off.
He's a terrific horse, Exultant, but sadly for him, in a way, every time he shines, someone else shines on the same day. I think it was Golden 60 who captured the Classic Mile and the headlines. But Exultant, carrying the weight of the grandstand, I think, as a commentator said on the day, he gave some really smart horses a decisive beating, giving them £19, £20. I do like Glorious Dragon. I think he's improving. He clearly needs to be, and he shouldn't beat Exultant on these terms. But the good thing about Exultant, he's at least as good as when he won this race last year, possibly slightly better, and he can adapt his game to suit the circumstances. So he's bound to be a strong, strong odds-on chance, and it's very hard to find chinks in his armour.
It certainly is. Speaking of last year's race, in actual fact, it was a really good ride from Zach Burton. He sort of took off halfway down the back straight and was a convincing winner. But Southern Legends was a mighty run that day, stayed on very strongly from the back, but just couldn't catch him down the straight.
But was clear of the rest. So we know that a good test at 2000 can really bring out the best in Southern Legend. He's mixed and matched his trips and his level of form. And his level of form on his last couple of runs hasn't been so good. But apparently, Chad Schofield is pretty confident that this horse is coming back to the boil.
Well, that's perfect timing, in actual fact. Let's hear from Chad as he'll be back on board in Sunday's Group 1 contest.
Yeah, it definitely does. Again, he's drawn really well. I thought his trial here at Sha Tin last week was really good. He gave me a terrific feel, and I rode him in the race last year where he did run second, and I think he's definitely top 3 chance.
Does he feel similar to how he felt last year?
He does. He gave me a terrific feel the other day in the trial. His recent runs have been somewhat below par, but Casper said he's changed a few things, and I think he's got the horse spot on.
At his very best, you'd think he's got to be a player, isn't it? But as you were touching on before, I mean, they tried him in the Vars on International Day over the 1.5 miles, and back now to the 2,000 metres.
Yeah, I thought he was subdued last time, over a mile. This might be his better trip. The only problem with Southern Legend is that we know how good he is when he brings his A game. But when he brings his A game, and Exultant does likewise, we know who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, can you make any sort of argument? I know Time Warp missed his last intended start. He had a lameness issue in front. But he hasn't been running too bad this season. This is level weights, I know, but he is a former winner of the race as well.
It's 2 years this weekend since he became the first ever horse to bust 2 minutes for 2,000 metres at Sha Tin. And he's been a very checkered character since. It's a good while since Joe Moreira threw his leg over him. And in the past, Joe has raised the persuader, given him a crack or two, and Time Warp has said, no, thank you, Joe. That's not the way I play it. So he's not the same force of old, but as always, he is likely to play a key role tactically from the front.
Tony Millard's got 2 runners in the race. We touched on Glorious Dragon before, the other one being Northern Superstar. And I thought an interesting line from Tony this week was that he said horses run to their form, not to their rating, because on their rating they've got a world, the world to do here. But Northern Superstar, a Grade 1 winner out of South Africa, hasn't quite hit those heights yet, but he's a horse that remains full of possibilities. And
he has been limbering up over 1,400 metres, so he gets a very different stamina test this weekend. I'm intrigued by Glorious Dragon. He can't win it at the weights, but he is an improving horse. He tends to finish strongly, and it's really interesting that Tony is going for this mega pot when he could have run from a potentially very, very lenient handicap mark in Class 2 company next week.
Eagle Way, trained by John Moore, has got a fantastic record in this race. He actually sort of caught the eye a little bit last time staying on.
Yeah, he had to be switched at an important point. He wasn't too far behind Glorious Dragon and Dr. Jeff, who was second and third. I always think with Eagle Way, the stronger they go, the more likely he is to come up and pick up some pieces. But it's Exultant's race to win or lose. Clearly, he'll be about 1.3, 1.4 maximum, I suggest. Glorious Dragon is an improving horse who should run well. And Eagle Way, if they go really strong, Time Warp is the key. As goes Time Warp, so does Eagle Way, I think.
Yeah, so if I'm asking for you who's going to win the race, then the official tip is Exultant. Facts and figures, they can't really beat him.
I'm a huge admirer of Exultant, and I hope he wins this good-looking and then rolls on to Dubai to take on the best of Godolphin, etc., over 1.5 miles there. So he's a tremendous horse. 120 international rating now, Exultant. And he pretty much ran to that last time to give all that weight to smart horses.
Yeah, and without putting words in your mouth, Glorious Dragon, maybe the Cornell horse, and even from out of the handicap.
I think so, yeah. His official rating is only still mid-90s, but that's a kink of the Hong Kong handicap system. He clearly ran to at least 104, 105 last time, with the potential for a little better again. He is on an upward curve, not sharp enough to suggest he can beat the favourite, but I think strong enough to suggest he's going to go well again.
All right, we're reading from the, you're singing the same song sheets there. Exultant, very hard to beat as he goes for back-to-back victories in the Gold Cup. All right, coming up after the break, we've still got the Queen's Silver Jubilee to look at as well. Plus, Ricky Yiu back on top of the trainers' title race. 3 winners last weekend. Part 2 of the interview with Ed Sadler that comes up very shortly. Then we're looking at the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup. Beauty Generation. Can he make it 3 back-to-back wins? Beat the clock. The horse trying to upset that record. Welcome back to Hong Kong Direct. We've still got the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup to look at, the second of the Group 1s on Sunday. Before that, though, part 2 of our interview with Ricky Yiu last week. Ed caught up with him talking about some of the big names he's trained in the past. This week, they're concentrating on this season and a possible trainer's title.
We're talking to you at a time where you're the leading trainer here in Hong Kong on 34 wins, which is more than what you trained for all of last season, 29. What's the difference between last season and this season, Ricky?
I think the last season I had quite a few horses, especially the first part of the last season, I had a lot of horses got injured, and a lot of horses immature, and the rating is still high up. But since then, one of the big reasons that the horse is doing well this season is that the horse has been injured, they recover well, and horses have been immature. They turned 4, they started to mature and started to run well, and with a lot less injuries, so that helps. So I think last season only half of my stable strength can get going, but this season, I think 80–90% of my horses can put them in a trial, can run them whenever I wanted to. That would be the big reason. And the horse has been to the premises in Chongfan in China. That a lot of my horses, they benefit from the place.
How much has having that stable at Chongfan changed the way that you train your horses?
Oh, they changed their appetite. They eat better. They changed the coat. The coat got darker and shining. And they especially if a horse that has to be a lot of exciting horses, they get a lot relaxed since we did Chongfan, and because the Chongfan itself, they had all the sand tread and grass that they knew, so they got good for horses with the leg problems.
This season, you're leading the way, as we say, in the trainer's title. You've achieved so much in your career, but you haven't been champion trainer before. Could this season be that season?
I'm going to try my guys out. You know, I see the chances there. I want to give it a go.
A couple of promising horses from your stable. Voyage Warrior, he looks like a pretty promising sprinter, Ricky.
Yes. He's another one that had a great ton of foot, yes.
And Precious Ship, he's a horse that you've said before, the way that he's been winning, he could be one of the best milers in Hong Kong. Why do you think that?
It's still improving. I think it would be a horse that it can go up to above 100 ratings. This is in the mid 90. So and another lovely horse to train.
Your son, Eric, is now your assistant trainer. Are you training him to become a trainer? Is that we're going to see a Yiu family dynasty in horse racing here in Hong Kong?
Yes, I mean, when he was a kid, he had so much interest in horse racing, and he loved animals, and he loved dogs, and obviously horses. And after he finished his education, he wanted to come to work with me, to work with the Jockey Club. Obviously, he wanted to become a trainer one day. So he's learning from me or from the other trainers little by little. And he's only a young guy, and he had a good potential to be a trainer one day.
It's a great story, a great family story there, Ricky. You're talking about his son, Eric, currently assistant, might be a trainer one day as well. It's a long process to get there, Graham, but the season couldn't be going much better at the moment.
Yeah, he came out swinging at the start of the season, maintained a strong gallop, had a little dip before last Saturday, fired back with a treble. He's 2 ahead of his old rival Francis Loy at the moment, pair clear. One of the 2 should get the crown for the first time this season. If you're looking at the last 10 meetings, Andrew, Francis had the edge 10-5 over the last 10 meetings. But I think the key for the second half of the season, we're just into that second half now, is how many young, improving horses can these trainers bring through to nick a couple as the season goes on?
That's a very different trainer's title race to what we're usually seeing. There's no more, there's no size there either. Tony Cruz and the first season trainer in Douglas White.
It's testament to Hong Kong's handicap culture. Well-handicapped horses win races, and another thing that Ricky touched on there, healthy horses who are healthy and can progress and maintain the strength and just keep a step ahead of the handicapper. It's absolutely key in Hong Kong.
Yeah, he's got a couple of good chances. I thought Cheerful Leader and Mighty Giant. Well, Mighty Giant's drawn badly on the weekend. He looks quite progressive, doesn't he, for Ricky?
Francis has a couple of good chances as well. So they've been exchanging blows for a while, and I'm sure they'll continue to. I hope one of the pair wins it. It's not too late for Douglas or Danny Shum to make a really strong run. But these two guys have given that table a really refreshing look this season, and I hope they continue. The percentage strike rate for Ricky has been 20% or above for most of the season. It's dipped just below that at the moment. But if he can maintain a strike rate of 18 or 20%, he's going to be hard to beat.
All right, that's Ricky Yiu. Great interview there with Ed Sadler. We move on, though, now to the second of the Group 1s this weekend. That's the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, and Beauty Generation looking for a three-peat here. He's beat the clock on his last two runnings of this race. Hot King Prawn run up on International Day to beat the clock, tries the 14 for the first time. Thanks Forever just a head behind, beat the clock last time out. Rattan, Wishful Thinker, if you want to do two in the race for Richard Gibson, and Kying Star. Jamie Spencer, of course, Jamie been riding a Fiore in the Gold Cup. Jamie riding Kying Star as well. But the place to start, obviously, Graham, is with Beauty Generation, I suppose, and a better run from him behind Waikuku last time.
I think so. I'm sure it was. But as the overview, this deserves a full house, a race like this. Why? Great question. It's Zach versus Joe. It's more versus size. It's a master miler, once the world's best miler, against Hong Kong's champion sprinter. It's right in the middle distance between the mile and 1200. It's that seductive angle of a true great of Hong Kong racing, trying to recapture former glories, and the tactical battle between Zach and Joe. And how hard does Zach go to try to draw the sting out of Joe and beat the clock?
All right, well, let's ask him. Let's find out. Zach Purton on Beauty Generation this weekend.
It was good to see him back to somewhere near his best, and I thought he ran well. He'd give the indication in the trial he was going to do that, and it's always good to see them come out and do it on race day, and we go into the race hoping he can repeat that performance.
What about coming back to 1400 metres and taking on some horses who are suspect at this distance?
Yeah, I don't think coming back in distance is a big problem for him, and if the rain happens to hang around, I don't think that's going to hurt him either. But you know, it's a race that has got a few horses that like to push forward, so it could become a little bit of a speed battle, and that's not going to suit us.
He's 5 from 6 course and distance as well, Beauty Generation. He was beaten a neck by a horse rated 124 last time, as opposed to Beat the Clock, who beat a 104 rated horse by a head last time. But he never actually wins by that far, Beat the Clock. He does what he has to do, doesn't he?
Absolutely. His 4 Group 1 wins have been gained by a combined time of 0.21 seconds. That's that much. That's how fine the margins are at that level. As for Beauty Generation, his last 4 defeats at a mile, Andrew, have been gained in almost identical times, but very different ways. Last time, when he was subdued by Waikuku late on in the Stewards' Cup, he ran harder early. And the really good thing about that is he still finished the race, and there was just much more fire in his finish to me. So that hints to me that Beauty Generation is not the horse he was, but he's still a very high-class horse. And the key for Zach Purton, he touched on it there, he doesn't want a speed test. He's got to back his old friend to run hard for a long way. He's got to throw in a 22, low 22s, and then a 23, because if you have Beat the Clock sitting on your tail with 400 to run, he can peel off a 22, sub-22 for fun. I'm not sure Beauty Generation can do that anymore, but if he drags that finish out of the pursuers, this could be a humdinger.
All right, well, there's the big two in Beauty Generation and Beat the Clock. What about a horse like Hot King Prawn, though? Seems to have bounced right back to his best this season. He'll be ridden by Karis Teaton.
To be honest, I think when he does take a seat, he's a better horse. He hits the lines better. You could see the International Day where he was box seat and he was finishing much better. So I think the 1400 will give him a chance where he could find his momentum. He could relax a little bit more, and I think he'll be better.
Can he beat Beauty Generation and Beat the Clock?
It's a tough question, but you know, he's a life chance. Of course, these are two big horses. You need to respect them. Of course, he's going to be very competitive also.
That's Hot King Prawn. Now, what are the others, though, Graham? Thanks Forever is a mighty run from him, and their sort of hand is forced now to try again. Rattan, Wishful Thinker, Kying Star as well.
Just one line on a few of those. Hot King Prawn has to be a bit better at 1400, and that doesn't seem an obvious way to go. Rattan can be a high-class horse on his day. He didn't really fire over a mile last time. Thanks Forever's interesting. I'd forgive him his one run at 1400 metres. It was the end of last season. Last time out, there didn't seem too much of a fluke about it, and he was only just beaten by Beat the Clock, and he wasn't going away close home. Tactically, though, how are those horses going to be ridden? Thanks Forever.
Trained by John Moore as well.
Yeah, he led last time, but he's hardly likely to want Thanks Forever to go banging heads with Beauty Generation. I don't think Caris will want to go hard early on a suspect stayer. The way Caris rode Hot King Prawn in a recent trial suggests they're going to check back. I think Zach has the potential to get a pretty smooth lead from a low draw on Beauty Generation, but he has to make it a test of stamina at the trip, and if he does, I think Beauty Generation, most Hong Kong superstars, they don't get it back once they lose it. They tend to peter out a little bit. For that reason, I couldn't go banco on Beauty Generation, but I think the stage is set for him to bounce back one more time and maybe earn a trip to Dubai.
Yeah, be great, wouldn't it? But Beauty Generation, I'm thinking along the same sort of lines as well. He's drawn inside Thanks Forever as well, so I think they'll end up Beauty Generation rail Thanks Forever just sitting on his quarters as well, and they roll into the straight.
We should just touch on the last 2 years for these two horses. Beauty Generation had to go eyeballs out to beat the clock ahead 2 years ago. This time last year, Beauty Generation was in prime time, and he just would not let him get up sides, and he beat him a length and 3/4. I think a replication of that type of game plan is the way to go on Sunday.
All right. Lots to look forward to with the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup. They're the two feature races on Sunday, back at Happy Valley Wednesday night. And then the following weekend is the Hong Kong Classic Cup, second leg of the 4-year-old series, with Ryan Moore and Hugh Bowman flying in, Graham to ride Champions Way and enjoying respectively.
Yeah, all these top jockeys looking for the correct Derby seat. Ryan's had a rare setback. Zach has bumped him from more than this. But I remember the last time that Ryan Moore rode a supposed John Size second string in the Derby, and it was Ping Hai Star who turned over Stablemate, Nothing, I Like More, and all the rest.
Absolutely. There's plenty to look forward to. That's all coming up next week. Thanks, as always, Graham, for your company. Thank you for watching as well. That's the show. Thanks for watching. We're going to leave you this week with a Gold Cup from a couple of years ago. Designs on Rome going back-to-back for John Moore. Tommy Berry in the saddle here. Exultant trying to do that this weekend. Enjoy this, and hopefully we'll see you again on Sunday. Bring all the action from Hong Kong direct to you.
There's 9 lengths from top to bottom, and Dan Excel makes the running down the side. He's a half a length on Helene Superstar second. Military Attacks had a sweet run third, likewise Blazing Speed fourth. 108 at Dominant, who's very close in the run today, from Giant Treasure. Sumion yet to go, then Flame Hero, followed by Designs on Rome. Tommy Berry had a little whisper in the ear of his old mate, and he starts to click around them. Mr. Nocky back towards the tail. Helene Happy Star and Secret Weapons got it all to do. They corner in, and Helene Superstar put pressure on Dan Excel. Blazing Speed out. Military Attack waiting on a run. Giant Treasure, Designs on Rome now fully stoked up. Coming deep down the track, Designs on Rome. He's sweeping up to hit the lead. Military Attack bursts through. Blazing Speed, Helene Happy Star, Designs on Rome. Military Attack, Helene Happy Star, Designs on Rome in full flight. Designs on Rome, back-to-back cups. Designs on Rome from Helene Happy Star.